boat life. It's not all beautiful sunshine and amazing summer days on the canal. I'm Dan Brown and welcome to my Narrowboat life. When I put these boat life documentaries together, I always try and keep the absolute central theme, the idea that boat life is just normal life that happens to be a little bit more floaty. And based on that, I can then imply that you just have a normal life. I go to work, I have friends and family, I have to do shopping and general chores and cleaning and things like that. But also, the boat then gives me the opportunity to travel around this amazing rural countryside for miles on end and moor up in some of these incredible spots that I can look out of the window at and talk about for hours on end. And this video is intended to be the absolute embodiment and demonstration of boat life is just normal life that happens to be a little bit more floaty. And by that I'm entirely focusing this video as we've got a train going past, typically good timing for doing this video introduction. Oh, and also a cyclist. But back on track. The whole basis of this video is to follow one working day in full, where you wake up on the boat and then go off to work, fill some shelves in the supermarket and come back, and how only having a boat and a bike as a form of transport influences that, and as far as I'm concerned really embodies and gives even just a basic working day the elements that I love about day-to-day life and being able to be out in these amazing places with a boat. Without further ado, let's start our day. So you can see here, this is point of view. You are now seeing through the eyes of me, Dan Brown. And first thing we do is get out of bed. We'll move and shift across the little boxes that I keep my bedding in and use as a draft excluder there in the general gap between the cupboards and the bathroom. And here's our first view, the absolute first thing in the morning as we stumble up onto the deck here in a bit of a daze. And you can see there's actually been a little bit of rain overnight and everything's just that little bit wet, which ties into what I can certainly vouch for over the winter months, that coming out and finding ice over your bike seat isn't the most pleasant way to start the day. But you can see here, it's not too early in the morning, as it was a nice treat to start work at 10 rather than 9 in the morning. So this was about 8 o'clock-ish. And just being able to start your day by stepping up onto the stern and looking at places like this, an absolutely brilliant start. And like I say, this is the beginning of a work day. If it could begin and end like this every day, I'd be a happy boy. When we head back inside, obviously have the morning routine to get through. So that's obviously clean your teeth, have a hay fever tablet, have a one-a-day tablet, have a quick shave, and then spray myself wildly with body spray. Then, as you can see here, chuck any old bedding into these boxes, put those up out of the way in the corner, put the sofa bed back into full sofa formation with the cushions as well. Then out we come here to unlock the bike. And again, how fantastic is this? Just again, going about the completely normal daily life, and you've got random visitors like a few ducklings hanging around. Unfortunately, I didn't have anything to give them, so I felt quite mean. As we have one last look at Tilly here, it's time to grab my bag, hop on my bike, and then cycle into town. And we're heading into town to my mum's house, which is extremely luckily and fortunately placed right next to where I work, or at least a 5-minute walk away. And that means, obviously, it's a nice safe place to go and leave me bike and stuff and try and sort out some YouTube things, which we'll have a closer look at in just a moment. But this bike ride itself is a few miles longer than it could be, specifically to avoid all of the traffic that we're seeing here as it heads down to a big roundabout just further down the road there. And obviously that's not the most pleasant way to ride in, so instead we took a much more rural trip and finally arrived back here in town. When I do eventually arrive at my mum's house, it's then a case of scrambling to make the best use of the time that I've got before I have to run around the corner to work. and during that time I will be leaving videos uploading if I've got videos that I've recorded from the week that need to go online, whether I've got videos that are already uploaded from previously in the week or even earlier than that I've never got around to. I try and then sort out the date that they'll go automatically online and sort out the video details and the descriptions and the little thumbnail images with the yellow writing on and all that sort of stuff. Of course, it would be terrible for me to not say I do of course have to give the cat and the dog, that's Pippin and Pixie, a good fuss, and then run around the corner to a supermarket, do some normal supermarket work, fill in shelves, all that sort of stuff, and then finally get back to my mum's house. And this day in particular, I went and tricked myself because I was working a Saturday rather than a Sunday, and for some reason I was thinking, oh yeah, it'll be a nice little bit to film, having dinner together with the family and a nice, I don't know, table and plate full of vegetables and stuff like that, so I can finally show you all that I don't just eat pizzas all day, every day, 5 meals a day. And well, you get the general gist of where I'm going with that. But then I realised, oh hang on, it's not Sunday, so it was a quick beans on toast job, and then of course did a little bit more YouTube stuff, did a little bit more fussing of the cat and the dog, and then back on my bike it was. But I was a silly Billy, and to just prove how unprepared I was for this video ultimately, I went and left the GoPro camera on, so while I was at work the battery completely drained out. Which means that our bike ride out to the boat section of this video is entirely made up of iPhone footage, and you'll notice here that this park that's right in the middle of town and on a Saturday evening is completely empty, so you can imagine that the further out we got, the scenery got much better, and there were even fewer people around than the basically no one that was actually in town at the time. And this is one of those interesting things really, that a workday adds in a reason for me to be doing these bike rides, rather than how I normally just go out on a whim walking or cycling through the weekdays and so on. When I've actually got a reason to go to a specific place like work, I firstly try and throw in all of the other things like doing the YouTube stuff to make it as useful a time as I possibly can, and also obviously trying to see my family, or sometimes I might meet up with a friend and then we'll bike out to the boat together after work and then do some boating and stuff like that. Really, I suppose ultimately that the actual hours I spend at work are not really the focus of the day at all. One of the things that I very often find myself doing when I return to the boat, whether from work or otherwise, is just hanging around on the stern, and without really even realising it, very often I'll just spend a couple of minutes just walking around and leaning against the side of the boat, sitting on the railings on the back, and basically just enjoying the surroundings. And you just saw on the inside there that the kitchen drawer had swung open. That was from a fast boat going past and rocking us all over the place during the day while we were out. But one of the ultimate things that I just love doing in the evenings is having a little stroll down the canal, and it's something that I do regularly throughout the day if I'm on board all day, and in the evenings in particular, these summer days where you've got these very long light nights where you've got this dusky twilight that settles in really late on compared to in the winter, for example, so when it gets dark at 4 o'clock in the evening. And just being able to wander up and down the towpath in these conditions, see a fish just jumping in the canal there, you've got your duck at the side of the boat, all these classic little countryside things. And one of the things I love with the summer evenings, as I was saying, is the fact that you have a lot of bats about, I find. And because it's light and lighter a lot later, you can actually see them a lot better than other times of the year when maybe they're not so prevalent. And certainly they're a lot more difficult to pick out on a black background. Now, one of the ultimate ways to end the day for me is definitely relaxing with a few podcasts playing, sat at my little desk at the very front of the boat here, and trying desperately to use my pencils and paint to hopefully come up with something that roughly resembles what it's meant to be in real life. And after all this and everything said and done, I think still, even on the summer nights, if it's a little bit chilly, one of the best things to do as the final thing of the day is get the fire going, put just a little bit of fuel in to take the edge off the chill, and then settle down ready for a good night's sleep. It's a strange thing how these days I find it more comfortable to sleep on the sofa bed without even folding it down than any other bed that I've slept in for a very, very long time. I hope that you've enjoyed this look at one particular day of work and how that fits in with life on a boat and what my general life and my own experience is out here on the canal. And I suppose before we go, I should just share a few thoughts in general, because obviously this is only one particular day. I mean, sometimes the boat will be twice the distance away and it's not quite as pleasant if you suddenly find yourself being rained on, and obviously during the winter it can be an absolute nightmare if it's absolutely freezing and frozen, and I'll wake up and I'll have kept my bike in the boat so that it's not all covered in ice when I go to get it on the stern. And there's an awful lot that I could say, which I won't bore you with here. I'll make a proper separate video talking about things like this in the future. But obviously, this is just one particular day from one particular life on one particular boat. And another theme that I always say is, due to the nature of being able to move around on a boat or stop in a marina and so on, boat life can be so dramatically different from person to person that it's almost not even the same lifestyle in many respects. There are many people who say, why don't you get a car, and how much easier would life be, and all that sort of stuff. And I can see the logic and the point and what have you, but for me, well, I'm still just about fit enough to be able to do bike rides like this that you've seen today on a pretty regular basis, although I know that won't last forever, so who knows what the future will hold. I'm more than happy with how everything is at the moment, and it's all about just enjoying it, and I'm not ever in a rush on my bike to try and blitz down the lanes and get out as fast as I can, or ever be in an urgent rush. Just like the rest of boat life, really. Take it slow, and as you see very often, I post pictures on Facebook to the page and Twitter, and I'm just like, oh yeah, just out on my bike, almost at the boat, and still got X amount of miles to go, but wow, can't not stop and see these views and so on. And that's what I love about these sort of commuting days, that it really is a perfect bookend to whatever happens in your actual working life. You start and end it, or at least I'm lucky enough to very often start and end with these beautiful rural bike rides. But as I was saying about the car thing, it's like it would add a huge cost into my otherwise extremely low cost lifestyle to suddenly have a car and tax and petrol and all that sort of stuff. Equally, because the places that I like to moor up good old Tilly are very often very rural and not near any main roads, it would start to make it extremely awkward to move the boat, then have to hop on my bike back down to the car, then move the car to the nearest place I could to the boat somewhere on a road. And because the roads that I tend to moor up anywhere near are very often just little country lanes and so on, it's not always ideal or suitable for parking cars on the side and things like that. So for me, I'm more than happy at the moment to carry on doing what I'm doing, and I'm absolutely loving it still after 3 years. So if I can keep doing this for another 3 years, I'll be a very happy lad. Equally, I could at some point think, oh yeah, I'll get a car and I'll start doing other stuff and move the boat into the marina and stay there full time, and suddenly, instead of the sort of day that you've seen me have just now, it would be basically waking up in a fixed location every day, going up maybe a flight of steps or wherever off the boat, getting in a car and just having a normal commute like that. And it wouldn't make for a very interesting video at all, I don't think. But you start to see what I always say. Boat life is just normal life that happens to be a bit more floaty. And boat life from person to person and boat to boat can be completely and utterly different. On that note, I'm going to finally let you get on with your day and say thank you so much for watching. If you would like to help me out and support these videos, then please do subscribe and check out all my other weekly boat life videos. And please do consider checking out my books available for the Kindle. Search Amazon for The Narrowboat Lad, or find links to all of my books and an awful lot more all over the internet in the description below. Until the next time though, keep it boat worthy, have an absolutely fantastic week, and of course, farewell.